Now to politics here at home, where people living in Hermitage, Tennessee, a suburb right outside of Nashville, formed a human chain in order to block agents with immigration and customs enforcement. Now, a man, as you look at the video here, was sitting with his 12-year-old son when ICE approached the vehicle, creating a standoff. Now, according to Metro Nashville police officers, they were instructed to stand down and not be involved as ICE attempted to serve the detainer. Now, ICE agents had a warrant, and they are allowed to detain people. However, they are not allowed to forcibly remove someone from their home or their vehicle. So eventually they left. Now, the video has helped to rebirth the controversy over ICE and President Donald Trump's tweets about raids across the country. So for the 360 View, we turned to our political panel. Civil rights attorney Robert Patillo and Carrie Sheffield, national editor of Accuracy and Media. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thanks, Scottie.
Okay, so let's start off with Robert on this case. Now, you're also a lawyer on top of actually being someone who comes on and speaks from the left. Robert, did the neighbors actually protect one another, or did they just obstruct justice?
Well, it's not quite obstruction of justice because this is an ICE enforcement mechanism. It's not as if they were serving a criminal warrant on an individual, under which cases would have been obstruction and the other people would have been arrested. However, this is just delaying the inevitable. The 35 people who were arrested in these raids and the additional people who will be arrested thereafter they've had their day in court. They've been ordered to leave the country. They have removal orders in place, and eventually they will do so. This highlights the need for comprehensive immigration reform. We have to stop the stopgap measures. We have to stop the continuing resolutions, the haphazard method by which we do immigration reform right now, and come together across party lines and put together an actual process that can last for generations to come. We're operating under the same system Reagan put in place in 1986. It's time for us to reform it permanently so we can have a permanent solution.
Well, it's interesting you bring up Reagan in '86, because I remember when that was going through, that was supposed to fix the problem. He gave amnesty in 1986, saying, okay, here's amnesty to everybody here. Are you guys all happy? And look, we're right back into that same position today, if not worse, which is why I bring Carrie in. Metro Police there in Nashville did not get involved because the sheriff said there were no arrest warrants of the local side. So they just stood off and made sure that, I guess, peace was kept. But does this not kind of work again? Shouldn't all law enforcement work together to actually make sure that whatever laws are obeyed and followed through with?
Well, yeah, I mean, you hit on the topic of sanctuary cities, which is something that this president has hit very hard on, that when you have local or state jurisdictions who don't respect the federal rule of law, this really makes it difficult to enforce the rule of law. And you know, the president has said it over and over. He is pro-immigration. He is married to an immigrant, but he is pro-legal immigration. And so when you have people who are aiding and abetting the flouting of the law, whether it's your neighbors or the mayor, it's really, really setting back what this country is all about, which is respecting the rule of law. And I have to say, my colleague here on the panel, he sounds pretty reasonable, and I would like to see more of that coming from the Democratic Party, because what we saw, so many, I think it was every person on the stage, or the vast majority of the Democrats on the debate stage that was just down in Miami, said they wanted to decriminalize border crossing. And there is just overwhelming polling data evidence to show that that is not what Americans want. According to Marist polling, 66% of Americans say that decriminalizing polling is a bad idea. 65% say that giving free health care to illegal immigrants is a bad idea as well. So I'd like to see the left not turn so hard to the left and be more willing to come to the table and pass something.
Well, and that's the thing, is there are needs that are already here for the citizens that we are. Often, Robert, we talk about the inner cities, that definitely some of this funding could go to take care of our homeless, our overall homeless issues, our education problems we have in this country. And yet it seems like we have this unlimited number to take care of others. But that being said, I'm a little bit worried, Robert. Is this what the new next wave of action is going to be? Citizens that stand up to law enforcement when they don't like the legal law of order that has been carried through? And what's the danger in that?
Well, 2 points. One, Democrats have come to the table. We had the Schumer compromise in February of 2018 that President Trump walked away from. It was $20 billion in wall funding. It would have been a comprehensive system to reform our asylum system and also reform our employment system. So we need our Republican allies to come to the table also, not allow Mark Meadows and the Freedom Caucus and the Tuesday Group to control policy on the right side of the aisle and actually come to the center. On the point you were making, Scottie, I think it's very important to understand the times that we're in and the hyperbolic nature of the media landscape. The last thing that law enforcement wants is video of them pepper spraying and dragging nonviolent protesters into the back of paddy wagons while they try to arrest somebody for an immigration warrant. So they did the right thing by standing down, not turning it into a scene, and finding an alternative measure to bring this person into custody. Ultimately, we know what is going to happen. This person will be brought in. They will go through their deportation procedures. They'll have the opportunity to re-enter the country legally after that process is completed. However, this just shows the need for a comprehensive solution so that local law enforcement doesn't have to decide between assisting in bringing people into custody and potentially creating a national or international scene while doing it, versus the option of letting people think they can flout the law.
Well, that's the thing. And Carrie, we've often said these are ICE raids. ICE raids. That was supposed to be an ICE raid. I think that alone right there is not fair to say that it's a raid. A raid means that you're surprised. Obviously, there was no surprise in this case. But does it kind of show that ICE is trying not to be the bad guy because they didn't break in there? And I have to think if there was any other criminal in that van, even if a neighborhood standing behind, if it was someone that had gone through the judicial process and still was hiding from the law, you know, the police would have broken in there and through the crowd and said, no, we need to arrest this person. So is this ICE trying to soften their image per se? Because you're right, as Robert pointed out, you don't want to see a video of it. But also, if this is a criminal that's gone through the American justice system, why aren't we treating him as so, like any other criminal?
Well, as you mentioned at the top of the segment, that this order apparently was not to pick up or forcibly take someone physically from their property, but they could detain them but not physically remove them. So that's why they stood down, just to respect the rule of law. Right. So you have ICE respecting the rule of law. And I do have to say the broader cultural milieu, and we just saw in Harlem and other parts, people dumping water on the police. This gets back to the overall disrespect for the men and women who put their lives on the line every day and sacrifice. They don't know. My brother was a cop, and he didn't know if he was going to come home and see his little boy at the end of the day. And he protected people of all races, and he was willing to die for them. He was willing to protect them and lay down his life for them. And so the way that they're spit upon, dumped water upon, demonized by the left, the way the squad has dehumanized people who work for ICE and compared it to a concentration camp, the Holocaust Museum said that's disgusting, and don't use that. Don't use the Holocaust, which was the murder of 6 million innocent Jews, to justify allowing for illegal immigrants who are flouting our laws and disrespecting our rule of law.
Well, and it'll be interesting to see going forward on this one. Robert, I'm going to give you the last word on this side of it. Are we going to see more of these types of ways of protecting neighborhoods from when the ICE does show up? Are we going to see more human blockchains happening around places of residence?
Well, let's understand, of these raids, quote unquote, there were 2,000 people targeted, and they brought in 35 people nationwide. So because it was ineffective, I think it's unlikely that we'll see this kind of quote unquote nationwide raid take place again. This was a PR attempt by the administration to push Democrats back to the table to try to find a compromise on immigration reform, because the administration does not like the imagery of the kids in cages any more than anyone else does, and we need a solution.
Well, you're right. This is a PR from both sides, I think, are trying to use this. I don't know if either side's winning. I just know that we definitely, as a country, are not winning right now. We're all kind of losing in this messaging. Thank you so much. But you two are winning in my book always. Thank you so much, Carrie and Robert.
Thanks, Scottie.
Hey YouTube, thanks for checking out our channel. We hope you enjoyed the video. We have tons of content for you just like this. For more of RT America's one-of-a-kind news and analysis, be sure to subscribe and never stop questioning more.